Welcome back to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and today we're watching 10 Canadian inventions. You never hear much about Canada and stuff like inventions. I want to check it out. I want to see what it's about. Let's YouTube it, simmer, and see where we go on with this one.
I'm Christopher Green, and welcome
Yeah, let's
welcome
get
to
this
Canada.
started.
Canadians
Thank
are
you.
very resourceful and have come up with some great inventions over the years. Here's a list of 10 inventions invented by Canadians. Number 1. Time zones. Time zones were invented by Sir Sandford Fleming. Number 2. The BlackBerry. It was invented by
I remember
Canadian
those.
Mike Lazardis. While it might not be the most prevalent smartphone these days, it was one of the first. And people were walking around with their eyes glued to their BlackBerries long before they had their eyes glued to their iPhones or their Androids. Number 3. Wheelchair-accessible buses. The first wheelchair-accessible buses were invented by Walker Harris Callow in 1947. He designed the bus to accommodate veterans who were coming back from the Second World War. A lot of these veterans had injuries that required them to use a wheelchair. Unfortunately, getting onto public transit in a wheelchair wasn't very easy. At least until Walker came along and invented his wheelchair-accessible buses. And speaking of wheelchairs, let's move on to number 4, the electric wheelchair. Canadians really care when it comes to not allowing a disability to become a disadvantage. And this care was shown by George Klein in 1952 when he invented the electric wheelchair.
Yep.
Number 5, the Canada Arm. The Canada Arm is a giant robotic arm used on space shuttles. And more recently, it's been used on the International Space Station. As the name implies, the Canada Arm is a Canadian invention. And one of the people who helped this invention come to be was actually my own grandfather, Joseph Lackner. My grandfather was literally a rocket scientist and worked on batteries used in space. He's been recognized by the Canadian Space Agency, the US Air Force, and NASA. He also received an award from a former Canadian Prime Minister. As a little kid, I always thought it was really strange how he kept batteries in the refrigerator to help them keep their charge, but I guess he knew what he was doing.
No. You see, think about this, man. Seems like two of the inventions was to absolutely help people. You know what I mean? And the wheelchair things. You know what I mean? It seems like that came from a compassionate sort of perspective than maybe a capitalistic perspective. Now, going into the whole arm, the Canada arm, I didn't know Canada had space program and thing like that. How come you never hear about that? Comment down below. Do they blast stuff up out into space and thing? I don't know. Maybe satellites and all of that on that. That's understandable there. But exploration vibes and things. Does Canada take part in that, or do they partner with NASA and contribute it like the arm that was contributed there to work in outer space? You know what I mean? And the guy said his grandfather was an actual rocket scientist, which means Canada has probably been doing stuff for years but not being recognized. But in a way I understand, and because a lot of Canadian actors and actresses and singers and stuff, when you see them on television, unless somebody says this is Canadian, you don't know they're Canadian. You know what I mean? So I guess that's how they get lost in the shuffle per se, So, but then if they contributed something as big as the Canada Arm and and wheelchairs and stuff like that, wheelchair accessible stuff and electric wheelchair, that should be put to the forefront that they contributed those things. I think, you know what I mean. But let's get back to the video here and see what else Canada have invented that I don't know about.
Number 6, the snowmobile. I suppose it's fitting that Canadian...
Yeah, that's understandable.
Joseph Armand Bombardier, a Quebecer, invented the snowmobile, unfortunately, because of a tragedy. During a blizzard, his young son got very sick, and because of all the snow, they couldn't travel to the hospital. Unfortunately, he died. Mr. Bombardier did not want that to happen to anybody else. So he invented the snowmobile. Now, fortunately, these days we have things like snow tires and everything, so getting through a blizzard is not as hard as it was back then. And the snowmobile has become more of a fun recreational thing. Number 7, the snowblower. Speaking of snow, there
That's
are
understandable
two Canadians
too.
who are credited with patents for early versions of the snowblower. Robert Carr Harris of New Brunswick is credited with the first patent, and Arthur Sicard of Quebec is credited with the first practical snowblower. Number 8, the gas mask. During the First World War, Germans used poison gas against the Allied troops. Dr. Clooney McPherson, a Newfoundlander, modified a helmet taken from an enemy prisoner.
Wow.
Using this, he created a gas mask. His efforts saved British, Canadian, and other Dominion lives.
Wow, they invented the gas mask, bruh. The gas mask. I mean, that is like a major thing there because, I mean, even during riots and stuff like that, you know, if you have a gas mask and they throw tear gas and stuff, you're relatively safe and thing from vibes, you know. But wow, and that's a major contribution right there. You know what I mean? And my man invented that right on the scene. You know what I mean? On the scene of the battle and thing. You know, while you know they needed it the most and thing. You know, that one took me off guard. You know, and I guess listen, even when I was living in the island, I thought growing up, and I knew it wasn't true, but you know, everything that comes into the island, you think that it comes from England, because we were a British colony, or from America, because America is so close and a lot of our families move here. So we tend to think, you know, everything is an American thing, you know. But after the older I get and the more I look into stuff came from Germany, you know, it came from all over. We didn't just have like one supplier of things that we had on the island there, you know, or two supplier of things, Britain and America. But as a kid, you know, if you're watching TV, it's American stuff and British stuff, you know what I mean? You don't get Canadian stuff, you don't get like German stuff, you know, you just get those two places. So then you automatically think that a lot of things are originated from there. And you also think that even like when you're watching movies, a lot of the people that you see in the movies actually came from there. You didn't realize they came from this part of the world or that part of the world, because of course they're actors, so then, you know, they can do the accents and stuff like that. But so I guess people get lost in the translation of the things that they contributed to the world because of who have the power to tell the story of the things that happen in the world. Let's get back to the video here.
Number 9, the Robertson screw. That's right, that screw with the little square indent
Oh,
for
wow.
your drill or your screw to get in there. It was invented by Canadian P.L. Robertson in 1908.
About
And
one.
last but definitely my favorite on the list, number 10, the egg carton. I think this one's especially cool to us who are in the news media industry because it was invented by a newspaper editor. That's right, in 1911, British Columbian newspaper editor Joseph Coyle invented the egg carton. I love these interesting origin stories, and this one develops from a dispute between a local farmer and a local hotel owner. Basically, this farmer sold eggs to this hotel owner, but when they showed up, they were all cracked, and I'm guessing the hotel owner was kind of like, "These eggs are cracked. I will not receive these eggs. I want my money back." And the farmer was like,
"Hey, look, man, it ain't my fault that the eggs got cracked. I wasn't driving the truck. Maybe you just cracked them so you don't have to pay for them. You expect me to fall for that old trick?"
and it just kind of got messy. I mean, I guess it already had. The eggs got broken. That's messy. The editor, Mr. Coyle, solved the problem by creating the egg carton, which allowed the eggs to be transported without jiggling all around and breaking so much. So you see, newspapers are the community's best friend. Wink, wink, wink. So there you have it, 10 Canadian inventions.
Okay, man, that was quite interesting there. That's kind of cool. I never even thought about. That's what I'm saying. I never even thought about where was the egg holder, the cotton egg holder come from. You know what I mean? I work at a grocery store. I you know, I load those things all the time. It's kind of cool knowing where it came from. That is kind of cool, man. You know what I mean? I want to leave a link in the description to this video. I'm also going to link another Canadian video down here in the box. I don't know if it's to the left or the right. Click on that. Keep watching, man. I have a whole playlist of Canadian videos that you all could go check out. You know what I mean? And learn more history of Canada thing. Canada. I'm saying it like I'm back on the island. Instead of saying Canada, I'm saying Canada. I must be homesick today, all you. I must be homesick, you know what I mean? Anyway, man, life is too long to be miserable. Take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.